date is July 28th, and we have a beautiful show for you today. You know I love to dig into our story. So today we're going to deal with United States of America Corporation. What is that all about? How does it fit into our lives today? But before we get started, you know we're bringing Brother Jonah Bey. We're bringing Brother Jonah Bey into Detroit. He's coming in on, let me bring all my good info up. He's coming in, here we go. He's coming in on August the 21st. So 21 days from Saturday, and today is the 28th. So we're talking about 24 days from today and counting. Jonah Bey will be in Detroit and for a 3-day seminar. We are very fortunate to have this good brother. I love the brother with the fact that his method of teaching is so powerful that you can disagree with him, and then he'll tell you, well, go look it up for yourself. He doesn't stray outside of the law. He stays within lawful bounds, lawful boundaries of the Constitution and with both state and federal Constitution. So he taught me a little bit. I had a little bit. We stirred it up and we started moving forward. We're bringing more people in with this knowledge and wisdom every week. I'm doing my damnedest to wake up Detroit. Wake up, Detroit. Wake up. Try to get some, try to put something in that knowledge, in that noggin of yours. And I got good news also about Detroit, but I'll tell you about it a little later. Let's talk about the seminar. The seminar will be held on the west side of Detroit, on 7 Mile Road, 18846 West 7 Mile Road at Stahalin, right on the corner of Stahalin. The studio is between the major streets of Evergreen and Southfield Expressway. You can't miss it. It's on the northern corner of a 7 Mile, right on the corner. Now, the programs start on Friday at 7 p.m. There will be a VIP session, a meet and greet. Brother Jonah Bey. A lot of people have never met the brother. They've heard me talk about him quite a bit. But you'll get an opportunity to meet and greet. Plus, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask 2 written questions. 2 written questions. The timetable on the answers or the follow-up will be determined on how many VIPs we can attract to the first session. That will be determined on the day we start up, which will be the 7 o'clock on Friday. The next day, on the 22nd, we start our classroom studies seminar. Brother Jonah Bey is going to express the good knowledge, the good wisdom, talking about the straw man. A lot of people still are not aware of the straw man. Talk about the straw man. We're going to talk about the birth certificate, the authentication of the birth certificate. What does it mean? What does that do to you as to become a private citizen? Or better yet, to become an American nationalist. You will be a nationalist. And then we're also going to talk about discharging of debt. You're going to discharge debt. All of that we're going to put in on Saturday from 9 to 5. 9 to 5 on Saturday. Then we're coming back Sunday morning at 9 o'clock and crank up again. And this time we're going to deal with the understanding the national and the state constitutions. What bearing do they have on your way of life? Once you discover the richness of the constitutions, that every official I got to tell you this right now. Every elected official, every fraternal order, every institution in the United States, that means corporations, they all swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the organic Constitution of the United States. They wouldn't do that if it didn't mean something. So we're going to break it down, show you where your freedom lies in these two constitutions. Now, once you learn that, the last and final step is what is called your injunction of diplomatic immunity. Diplomatic immunity. You know, as they said in the Dred Scott case, the decision of the Dred Scott case, Theo Taney, the Supreme Court Justice, with his arrogant, well, he wasn't arrogant. He said it like it was. The Constitution was not printed or signed for the benefit of Black Americans, indigenous Americans. It was not signed for that. So anything in that Constitution other than two articles, there's only two articles in the Constitution that pertain to you and I. Only two. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about those two articles and let you know exactly how it pertains to you. Okay? Now, diplomatic immunity. Once you realize that you're not a United States of American citizen, because we still haven't found out what that is, USA of America. Since you're not a United States citizen, and the Supreme Court has already ruled that you cannot be a United States citizen. So if you can't be a United States citizen, then you have to be a citizen of America, which you were before the European showed up. He came in with all this bull crap, this madness. And through his pencil and manipulation and misrepresentation and enforcement of us going to college, to schools and learning his BS, we all think we are citizens of the United States of America. Now, if you want to stay with that, don't call me up talking about I know I'm a citizen of America. Stay there. Don't give a damn. Stay there. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Captain Gadget called in here talking about can't nobody change his mind. He knows he's a 14th Amendment citizen. All that bull crap. Okay, I don't care. That's good. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people that are fed up with their positions in the United States of America. Now, it has been discovered that there are 4 entities, governmental entities out there that affect your life on a daily basis. You got the organic Constitution, which is the United States Constitution. You got in the Constitution, it talks about the seat of government known as United States of America. Then you have the founding of the Corporation of United States of America, Inc. That's 3. And then last but not least, and we're going to talk about it today, and that is United States Corporation. All of these entities affect your life and have put you in the state that you're in. Not because they hate you, not because they're evil. It's because you are ignorant to who you are and what effect these 4 entities have on your life. So we're going to discuss that on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of August. I look to see and hope to see everybody turn out. And for you individuals in Detroit, starting next month, we will run advertisements on the situation, and we're going to be on live on the 12th of August, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's a Wednesday. We're going to broadcast as we usually do with Beverly D from 6 to 8, but during the 6:30, 7:30 hour, we will be live in the metropolitan Detroit area. We'll be live. So, and I will push that everybody to be sure and tune in on a Wednesday, August the 12th. Okay. Now, if there's any questions, I want you to go to ronmarch.com. ronmarch.com, my website. Want you to go to events, bulletin /events. It's right at the top. It will take you directly to the flyer of Jonah Bey and Ron March Freedom Seminar, 3 days only. Freedom Seminar, 3 days only. All the information will be there. The dates, the times, the cost, the donation for the tickets. We have a 2-tier donation. $100 for VIP and $50 for standard. VIP is 3 full days and standard is 2 full days. So you need to check it out, find out which way you want to go. You may not get this opportunity in Detroit for a long time because Jonah will probably be around the country in other areas. We are going to have a pay-per-view. I don't know the details of it yet, but it will be posted, and we will talk about it in the month of August. For all you people out there that live too far to get into Detroit, we're going to have pay-per-view for you to see it. If as far away as Yukon, across UK, all the way across, you can see it. So it's going to be a gala, super affair. And you know I'm going to be not emceeing it per se, but making sure that we stay on target so we don't lose any time with a whole lot of added information. And all you have to do is show up with your ticket. There will be no tickets sold at the door. All ticket sales are on the internet. You must go to the internet. And when you get to the information sheet, which would be the event section, it'll tell you how to purchase your ticket online. You must purchase your ticket online. Okay? So if there's any questions, you can call or you can go to the chat room and ask any questions that you might have in regards to this. All right. Now, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about the episode for today. We're talking about United States of America Corporation. What does it mean? We have to deal with Henry Turner, who inherited the landmass. We got to talk about court cases that are on record. Case 22, United States Appellate Court, all on record. We need to talk about and study Timothy Drew. Who was Timothy Drew? Who was Noble Drew Ali? Who was Elijah Turner? How did that Turner family hooked up? We need to talk about the Pan-American Conference. I talked about it a little bit last week, and what we discovered was, and I am very happy to say, what we got out of it was L. Hubbard, who is a mystic a teacher, I guess you could call him a study. He's a mystic teacher study who, believe it or not, he studies different types of situations where there is no concrete evidence, there is no documents that can back it up, but the information in regarding to it is so powerful that you cannot dismiss it. And that's what we have with the Moors. And I told you last week the name of the article was Ali Shuffle, Peter Moon, by Peter Moon, Ali Shuffle. So if you missed that program last week, you need to go and check it out. Now, let's get started here. The United Nations has a lot of information on our well-being. They have it documented. There's a lot of activity that has gone on and continuously going on in the United Nations in regard to Black America. The organization that you need to know is called AOS, American Organized States. American Organized States. We, believe it or not, have been identified as indigenous people. We are indigenous. The land belongs to us. United States, as you know it, or America, as you know it, belongs to us. And you can look all this up in the American Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. To give you a little bit of the information, we are working toward a strong American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People by the Organization of American States, OAS. You need to get involved with OAS to understand what they're doing. The American Declaration would affirm the right of self-determination, rights to educate, health, self-government, culture, lands, territories, and natural resources. And it would include provisions that address the particular situation of indigenous peoples in America. Now, I know you're going to ask the question, Ron, where are you getting this from, number one, and why now? Why haven't we heard of this? Well, it's very, very simple. You've been a Negro your life. There is no such thing as a Negro. It's been told to you 1,000 times. You keep calling yourself that. Then you get mad or get hip. And then you want to call yourself Afro-American, African-American. What else do he call you? Whatever it is, it does not exist. It's only a label. The same way you would label a fur coat, a leather coat. It's the same thing. You're labeling the citizens in your jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is not a God-given right. Jurisdiction is what you, how can I say it? Jurisdiction is what you take or is in honor is to you. Your conduct should dictate your jurisdiction. But the European has turned it in such a perspective that they have an enforcement agency to ensure that getting calls to ensure that you abide by their jurisdiction and accept their jurisdiction. Then they set up what is known as color of law to enforce, to back up their jurisdiction with so-called legalese or so-called legal instruments. None of the instruments of the European are lawful. They're all legal. And what makes them legal is, believe it or not, what makes the jurisdiction and the laws legal is our belief in them and the ignorance of us not knowing the difference between law and color of law. Saturday show, we looked up color of law. Color of law is only a document that resembles or contrasts a real law, but it's made up the way they want it to be made up to serve only. First break I get here on my computer, I'm going to look up color of law, and we'll deal with it. Or I'll get Wally. Wally, look up color of law in Black Law's Dictionary, and we'll read it right on the air. Okay. The American Declaration will be a comprehensive regional human rights instrument that promotes and protects the rights of indigenous people in North, Central, and South America, and in the Caribbean. Importantly, the American Declaration can be used to ensure the states respect indigenous peoples' rights through its application within the Inter-American Human Rights System. Another one to look up. Inter-American Human Rights. Inter-American Human Rights. The OAS Working Group on the draft of the American Declaration began its work on the draft text in 1997 and hosted several rounds of negotiations before suspending its work in 2012 due to a lack of funding. In December of 2014, the chair of the working group announced that the process would resume in 2015 by hosting monthly negotiations with the goal of finalizing the text in time for introducing to the OAS General Assembly in June of 2015, of last month. The next negotiation session will be held April 23 and 24 of 2015 at the OAS 1889 F Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C. This is some serious information, ladies and gentlemen. We have been shut out because of our ignorance. Now, you can take that any way you want, but I will support it by saying you were not given the information. Never were you given the information. So it's not a fault. It's just a point of being ignorant to this information. I don't think you can hold a man accountable for that which he does not know. I've had that argument with several different people, and I get different strong arguments. But they bring Christian out, try to tell me that Jesus is about it, whatever. I listen, I don't want to hear that. I'm going to stand on the fact that the bottom line is, in Ron Marx's opinion, the bottom line is man cannot be held accountable for that which he does not know. Yep. Color of law. The appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. We've been living under the color of law all of our lives. I'll give it to you again. Color of law. The appearance, it looks like, or semblance, used as if, without the substance of legal right. They change. I give you a good color of law. A traffic ticket, a traffic stop. The Europeans use color of law by making you admit upon a stop that you are driving, and without even thinking, you'll agree. Once you agree, you become subject or subordinate to the police officer, because you understood him, but you understood him incorrectly because he tricked you by saying you were driving too fast or you're parked in a no parking zone. There's no such thing. They created that. It's known as color of law. You don't drive because you look up driving in any dictionary or black law dictionary or even in your constitution, your state. It would tell you specifically what it means to drive. Driving means you come under the Constitution. I can't give you the article, but you come under the Constitution as commerce. Once they can create commerce in you, which you are because you're a slave in commerce, they own you. So they say you're driving. Now, what does driving really mean? I may look that up. Driving means that you are working. You're charging a fee You are you got a truck, you either a truck driver. I want to. You are a driver, a bus driver, a cab driver, a semi driver. All of these drivers produce capital, or they produce money, or they produce commerce. And they have a right by the Constitution to set up rules, regulations, safety, all of the do's and don'ts they have a right to do. So if they can convince you every time you get into your vehicle that you are driving, they can give you a ticket. It's $1 million industry, which is a color of law. $1 million. It's $1 trillion industry that they created through color of law. The first word that should come out of your mouth, not think, I know, a list from the Mason. Whenever you get stopped by a so-called police officer, first thing that comes out of your mouth should be, I'm a traveling man. Don't say it no more. I am a traveling man. That shuts down all conversations, shuts down all tickets, it shuts down everything. Because he wants to start asking you for driver's license and all of that, and you say, I know you're going to be afraid to say it, but you don't have any driver's license. Because you don't need driving. What about traveling? You got travel. If you say, I am a traveling man, or I'm a traveling person, say that first, loud and clear, and then let the conversation build from there. And if you don't know what to say, just say, I was traveling. Now, I know of some individuals, it takes a lot of nerve and practice. You just can't belt this out. But we know how crazy the police officers are. And I'm going to tell you right now, never, ever argue or disagree with a police officer. That's another catch that they get you on. And that is, anytime you create controversy, they can create a law that you break, color of law. Again, although they stopped you for a traffic violation that they claim, and if you create a controversy by arguing back with them, now you're resisting. You're making his job difficult, and that's against their laws. So now you're creating another charge against. So the best thing to do is say, I am a traveling man, and keep your mouth shut. But you're going to do what you got to do. But you never want to argue any rights in the streets. So we were looking for traveling, or we were looking for traveling, or we were looking for driving. And the best we can do with driving is driving under the influence. And that's not what we want, because we know we're going to get in trouble driving under the influence. So we got old Dred Scott case here too. I need to read this, but we'll come back to this, Dred Scott. But color of law, let's read that again. The appearance or substance. No. The appearance or semblance without the substance of right, legal right. Misuse of power possessed by virtue of state law and made possible only because wrongdoers enclosed with authority of state in action taken under color of state law. I mentioned the clothes, that's the uniform that they wear. The wrongdoers, those are the wrongdoers. Under the uniforms they wear, they declare themselves having power over you because of the uniform. You got to be very careful. You don't want to start an argument, but you need to know your rights. Acts under color of any law of a state include not only acts done by the state officials within the bounds or limits of their lawful authority, but also acts done without and beyond the bounds of their lawful authority, provided that in order for unlawful acts of an official to be done under color of any law, the unlawful acts must be done while such officials is purporting or aiming to act in the performance of his or her official duty. Y'all need to read. That's all I can tell you. You don't need to argue these points, but you need to know these points. All of the laws that they have, because they don't have a right to be here. That's number one. United States has no authority to be on American soil. They were given the right through the Constitution to set up the seat of government for America. For, F-O-R, America. To set up seat of government in Washington, D.C. of the seat of America. They changed it and they incorporated it, which made it a separate entity of the Constitution. You read the Constitution, I can give you that article to look for it. It's Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. It will tell you that they have a right to set up the seat of government. They call it in a district. They named it Washington, D.C. Or better yet, they named it District of Columbia. They were given that right. They were not allowed to set up United States of America, Inc. So that's where your color of law comes into play, right there. Okay? Now, driving, traveling, all of those are, if they trick you. And all you got to do is do some serious reading on right to travel. Just look up or Google right to travel. And you will be surprised at the information that comes up that tells you of your rights. Now remember, if you don't exercise your rights, you don't have any. So let's just keep it like that. You don't have to even talk about it. You only have to listen to me as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just laying it out there on you to let you know. Okay? Now we're talking about America. We're talking about where did it come from that I have to look at it to pronounce her name. The Empress Verdici. How did she become the heiress of the land? She's passed now. And there's a new queen mother. But how did they come under the ownership of America? Where did the Louis Purchase come from? That's now known as the neutral strip. They even tricked you, took that word Louisiana Purchase out. They don't want to associate with the ignorance of United States colonies, the 13 colonies. Thought they had a swell deal when in 1803 Napoleon sold them what he called the Louisiana Purchase. They thought they were going to get the land all across the bottom from Florida, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, coming all the way across, going up through Indiana, Illinois, all the way up to the so-called Canadian border, Texas, all of that land. I think they said it was something like, and the number escapes me right now, but it was close to something like 16 million square miles of land. It's unbelievable, just land everywhere. The United States thought they would deal from the post and purchased it for $15 million back in 1803. But when the boundaries and everything was set up, it was filed. They were surprised and shocked that Napoleon had tricked them and only sold them Bourbon Street and a barracks. That's why there was so much confusion during Katrina because the United States of America did not own Louisiana, and all that flooded area down there did not belong to the United States. Yeah, it did not belong to the United States. And that's why there was such a controversy on foreign ships coming in trying to save those people. Cuba sent ships in. Argentina. Looking at him. I want to say Argentina, but it wasn't Argentina. It was the other country above Argentina. They sent medicine, hospital ships, everything in. Food. The United States said it would be war if you come into our territory, into our domain. You're not allowed to come in. And that's why the people suffered down there. The United States, in turn, tried to take, in 1848, this happened, forget Katrina, let's stay back in 1803. When they found out they had bought a pig in the poke, they tried to take the land grant or the land mass to court to prove that the land belonged to the Europeans. The same judge that ruled years later, yes, he took them to court in 1848. And in the same judge that ruled against Dred Scott, the same judge, Theo Taney, Tanney, Taney, Theo, Theo Taney, I believe his name was. He was Supreme Court Justice. He ruled against the United States in both cases. No, he didn't. He ruled against the United States in the land patent, allodial title, that the United States cannot own any land. Hear me clear. They're not allowed to own any land in America. And for all of you people out there that think you own something, you do not own it. That's why you have to keep paying taxes and penalties and registrations and all kind of bullshit every year because you don't own it. You have a certificate of ownership or a certificate of title. Just like your birth certificate. You're the real live birth. You have a certificate of birth. They're not allowed to own land. Never was, never will. They don't belong here. Every one of them Peckerwoods need to go back where they come from. And they will never be sovereign. That's why they're all upset. That's why another reason why they hate us, but the big reason is they can't own the land and they want to be prepared so we don't take it from them. They will settle for the certificates as long as they have the power of the certificate. And that's what they got today. But I'm looking at, and we're going to talk about situations that has come, gone, and is ongoing. But we, as so-called Moors, blacks, indigenous, natives, whatever we are of color, we are going to have to unite and organize ourselves and learn where our land is for us to get it. Very few of us in America, over 50 million of us, have any idea where our land is. Have no idea that they don't own their homes, or don't own their cars, or don't own nothing. And most of them don't even care. Not most, but quite a few of them don't even want to care about it. So I'll cut this color of law loose, but this is how they are ruling America under the color of law, because they're not allowed to set up real law. The Constitution has already set up the law. The Constitution has already told them what they can and cannot do. They created this facade known as United States of America, Inc., and put everything under the color of law. And I'll read it again for the last time. Color of law. It comes from Black Law's Dictionary, abridged, but it's the 6th edition. The appearance or semblance looks like a law. like you have in banks, or you have, you're not allowed to bring firearms in here. That's color of law. Why? It does not have your name on it. Who are they talking to with that? They put up a sign, do not enter, and you go in, lock you up. Under the color of law. Your name was not on there. They wasn't talking to you. If it said Ron March, do not enter, I got a problem. I got a problem if it says that. But it doesn't. So the bottom line is we need to learn. We need to understand. And we need to read more and get more information. Now, let's continue. They say they are putting together, right now, they're completing, not putting together, the negotiations for drafting up of the American Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Now, I'll ask you, are you indigenous? That's what we can look up, indigenous. Are you indigenous? When I first heard the definition of indigenous, I bet, Wally, you don't remember when we first were searching Noble Drew Ali back, and we were talking about indigenous, and that European indigenous means to come out of the land. And we remember that. That was in the 70s. Yeah. Or early 80s. He told us that indigenous, because we were searching for Noble Drew Ali. We went to the library here in Detroit, and we found a book. I purchased that book too, that talked about the Moors, Noble Drew Ali. And they were calling them then, I'm going to pull that book out and read it. They were calling, the Jews wrote, a couple of Jews wrote the book. They were called indigenous people. And I asked in the bookstore, I wanted to know what indigenous meant. So he went over, I remember, he went overseas with the definition and told us in the Bible they talk about, you got a name, the ones that ride the camels over in the Middle East. They're over there now. They got the caravans. They do the same thing, like nomads. They got another name also. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, they're known as indigenous. They come out of the land. And to prove it, when Daddy started the Desert Storm, he did it in the season when the indigenous people had their caravans to come across Iraq, across Kuwait, and go into that oasis that Kuwait sits right there in that sea, water. And believe it or not, they had to stop the war, stop bombing, stop the war for about 3 or 4 days until they went through. Ceremonially, they do it. Just like the deers. The deers come through. They got no deer crossing. But they got signs that over there in the Middle East today. They have signs in Africa. All of it's Africa. But in Africa today, the tribes move. They migrate different areas. Of course, they don't respect the black Americans, black Africans' culture. But they had to respect the United Nations and the world was looking at Bush, Daddy Bush, and they had to figure it out. Not in there. Hey. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we're talking about indigenous ones. Indigenous means you come from the land. You come out of the land. You've been here all the time. The Dogons are indigenous. The Olmecs are indigenous. The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Copper people, all indigenous. All of Africa are indigenous by name and definition. In other words, the Ghanaians, the Ghanaians that live in Ghana are indigenous. That's where they get their nationality. Okay. We in America are indigenous. We in America. We are indigenous Americans. And believe me, I am proud and was shocked that my DNA came back and said that I was 9% indigenous American. 80%, was it 81% Sahara African. Now that covers a lot because Sahara Africa to me means that all people of color came out of Africa anyway. All of mankind came from Africa. So if I even seen, which I have never seen, if I had seen the Europeans' DNA, I guarantee you they'd have Sahara Africa, probably be 5%, 1%, something like that. Real small. And then European, because the other, I had 18% was scattered three different nationalities, and that was European, Asian, and Indigenous American. 9 on the Indigenous American, on the Asian, and on the European, which I am very proud of and glad that I saw it. Okay? Now, when they dealt with the Turners back in 1848, the Turners won the lawsuit. Europeans took the Turners to court. And you really need to read, believe it or not, the ancient ones. The ancient ones by the empire of the Ouachita Day Doug de Mayu Moors, M-U-U-R. They are a of the Kushites Empire, the Sangay Mali Empire, the Olmec Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. The Ouachita Day Doug de Mayu Moors are also called the Choctaw or Shabata, which is a tribe of Shabazz. The tribe of Hebrews are Israelites, and etc. They all lay claim to the following land by and through their bloodline. Her Majesty, Her Highness, the late Dr. Empress Verdice, Tyra Ouachita Turner, Golson Elbay is the great-granddaughter of Marie Antoinette, which was French, 6 times removed and the rightful heir to the throne of France, Spain, and England by the royal bloodline. Mercy. Now, keep in mind the Ali Shuffle. Keep in mind that the only way that you can get information is from the book called The Ancient Ones. And the book is documented. You cannot dismiss the book. Everybody argues in the streets about one thing or another, but if you read the book, and I'm back in it for probably, I never read the entire book, I must say, but I've been this daggum thing at least 100 times, and every time I go in it, I find out something new. I need to sit down and read this daggum thing and call it quits. But she laid claim to the following land by and through bloodline. De Bourbon Estate, also known as the Imperial International Estate of the Bourbon Habsburg Empire, which includes Western Europe. We're talking about land, ladies and gentlemen, all across the world that the Ouachitas and the princess, she's passed, but the empress, not princess, the empress, her DCA. You got a copy. Yep. Hey, did I buy one of these? I don't know if you can see it. Yep. It's called the Ancient Ones. You need to get it, yeah. Because I paid twice as much for the one I got. Well, and it's not in paperback form. Mine was in kind of page form. Yep. Found it. Can you get a good look at that? Okay. Now, for all of you that are interested, let me give you the ISBN number. You can look it up under the ISBN number. 13978. Let me do it right. 13-978-1 60281 044 0. One more time. ISBN number 13-978-1 60281 044 0. The Return of the Ancient Ones. It's a good book. It should be in our schools. We wouldn't have this problem that we're having. Okay? Now the book goes into, I have excerpts from the book. It goes into how the land was given through the line. She laid claim to the land by and through bloodline. Okay? The Imperial International State of Bourbon, Habsburg Empire, which includes Western Europe, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Germany, Italy, Sicily, Naples, Sardinia, Spain, and Portugal, as well as most of North America and the Caribbean, in addition to Central and South America, and all of North America west of the Imperial Demarcation Line of 1713, or the British Proclamation Line of 1763. And you know, we talked about the British Royal Proclamation Line. That was they used the Allegheny Mountain Range. It comes out of Nova Scotia all the way down through the Carolinas. It's a mountain range. And it was told, to back up everything I've said thus far, England, or Britain at the time, which was in New York, set up King George the third. King George the Third signed the proclamation line, a British Royal Proclamation Line of 1763. You need to look it up. It will tell you that the Europeans use different words. They don't like to use Europeans. When they have to give you real history, they come up with trick names. They said settlers, the colonists, the frontiersmen, all talking about Europeans, were forbidden to cross the proclamation line. That line is in place today, ladies and gentlemen. They never retracted the proclamation line of 1763. Europeans were not allowed to cross the Allegheny. So what they did, or the lie they taught us, the way they got across, the mountain men became part of history. Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, them bunch of punks that they created. I don't know who them sons were. They was all set up. And they went across and befriended the Moors, the Native Americans, and the peoples of color across. And in doing so, they mapped all the good lands, where the gold was, all kinds of things, where the good hunting, good fishing, the water, the drinking water, all of that was mapped out. And they went back to the 13 colonies, which was nothing more than corporations. 13 colonies were corporations. They went back to the corporations, made their report. Now they had to come up with a way to get into the land. Now, it's been told, I've read before, that in order for them, because let me go back, it said part of North America, they were talking about the lands from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to Alaska. The mountains on the east, the Alleghenies, was a border, and the Rockies on the west was a border. There are reports that the Europeans traveled all the way around South America. I don't know how the hell they did it, but they ended up, digging the Panama Canal. But they went all the way around Argentina, all the way back up to California, and started fooling with the quote-unquote Mexicans, quote-unquote the people of color, which would be the Aztecs and all of that, and start getting involved. All of that was out west belonged to Mexico today. But, of course, the so-called Mexican wars, they took that land through combat. But by them going all around and setting up forts, that was West Sea. I'm looking at it. I can't call the name of it. It's an old movie. They made it in 1941. But anyway, they passed out the Allegheny Trail and the Chisholm Trail and all that. What I'm trying to get to, and you need to know this, look up postal roads. Postal roads. Due to the Davy Crockett and all them punks, but y'all know what I'm talking about. What they did, they made agreements that they could use a Pony Express. They got permission to ride across certain territories. Just a little path for a horse, a little path. And they were known as postal roads. Now, today, every highway you see that's red, white, and blue, which is called the Federal National Highways, like 90, 94, 95, that's the name, 75, all that red, white, those were originally postal roads. They were originally postal roads. Once they got permission, then they negotiated to bring Pony Express was first. Then they negotiated to widen the roads so they could bring wagons. Then you had Wells Fargo, stagecoaches, stuff like that. You need to put all this stuff together and try to get it in your noggin, because they took everything from us. And for anyone out there from Detroit, we lost Detroit the same way our history was lost by the ignorance of our so-called leadership, the dumbass leadership that we have, as ignorant as they are. They were tricked, bought off, bamboozled, you name it, in the name of the Lord, whatever you want to call it, and gave up everything. Now the Europeans run everything in downtown Detroit, Peckerwoodville. And they have nerve to call it New Detroit. And they have jurisdiction, going back to what I told you. And they enforce it by the new police department and the new vehicles they have, and the new police force of hiring. They protect New Detroit. We're some of the dumbest. Well, maybe the only reason we survived because we were dumb. I think if we knew then what we know, they probably would have killed all of us. But it happened. We are part of it. So let's live with it. Now, we're talking about all this land that was given to the Moors, because Henry Turner Okay? This is the breakdown of the royal imperial breakdown for the Ouachita Tunic Moors. The young heir to the French throne, King Louis the 17th, married young heiress of the Ouachita Tunic throne, Elmiria, Elmiria, A-Y-I, Marie, A Maria. That's how I can pronounce it. Well, he married her. And their imperial marriage become official in 1795 to the conveyance of the Spanish land grants. And you probably saw some movies where they had the Spanish land grants. Those have been given away. But the European made it look like the United States was doing the land grants. You know, they line up with wagons and a whole lot of horses, any way they could travel on foot, and they would go out and put their stake in the land or the territory that was up for grabs. They call it land grab. Land never belonged to them. And they probably were talking about the Spanish land grant, not the United States land grant. Pursuant to the conveyance of the Spanish land grant bestowed upon the young King Louis XVII and his wife and heiress, Maria. These two also received the Imperial Spanish Land Grant of 1763. A recipient of both the 1762 and 1795 Spanish land grants, King Louis XVII became known as Marquis de Maison Rouge, owner of Louisiana and Florida. These land grants superseded Rick Holly, president and CEO of Plum Creek Timber Company. He went down there and took it. It never was his land. He went down and took it probably with arms, which was the state's largest private landholder deeds, color of law, and legalities. Talking about color of law right here in the ancient one, Return of the Ancient Ones. Upon the death of can't even say it, Maria Ya, King Louis XVII, the titles of Louisiana and the regent Marquis de Maison Rouge were conveyed to the next in line to the imperial French crown, Louis Francis Joseph de Bourdon and Prince de Conti, who lived from 1734 to 1814. He was the son of Louis Francis de Bourdon, Prince de Conti, I can't pronounce all this, the daughter of Elmira and Louis the 17th, married Louis Francis Joseph. Louis Francis Joseph as the second Marquis of the Rouge. With the death of, here we go, with the death of Joseph de Bourdon, his oldest son, Henry Joseph Turner, inherited the Maison Rouge estate. Henry Joseph Turner became the recipient of 1762 and 1795 Imperial Spanish land grant, making him the third Marquis de Maison Rouge. Henry Joseph Turner married Sarah Turner, and from this union gave their oldest son, Joseph Henry Turner, the fourth Marquis, giving you the bloodline, how the land was given to Ouachita Moors. The fourth son was Timothy Drew, better known as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was was Prince and 5th Regent Marquis of the Mason Rouge by and through his mother, Eliza, a daughter of Sarah Tunick and Henry Joseph Turner. Eliza Turner married John A. Drew Quitman. I got a book by John A. Drew. Keatman or Kittiwa, one of the 5 names for Cherokee. John Drew was the grandfather of Noble Drew Ali. According to oral statement and prophecy, Noble Drew Ali said, I am the 5th and last prophet, and I am 5 times more powerful than I was before. This is the reason why Noble Drew Ali is referred to as a prophet, because he had land of milk and honey, Cana, to take us to unlike Moses, whose story is based on Anton. Moreover, Brother Wise Bay passed. These were the people that talked about it. Brother Wise Bay. Okay, hold up one second. I missed the place. Here we go. Okay. He was secretary, and he ran national secretary. Said that the Holy Prophet said, I didn't tell anyone where I was born at or who my parents were, because I didn't want people to make a shrine out of the place to make over my parents like was done to Joseph and Mary. Allegedly, June 20th, 1928 to February 26th, 1928, Noble Drew Ali went to the 6th Pan American Conference held in Havana, Cuba. Note the minutes from the Pan American Conference of 1928 are missing, and thus documentation has yet to be found to verify this as true or not. This is what I was talking about last week in regards to the Ali Shuffle. The truth of him being there has never been found. Secretary of State Hughes went down to represent the United States. Notice they're not talking about America. And Noble Drew Ali went down to represent the Moors as head of the nation state. At this conference, the mandate for the landmass of Greater Amaxium, North, Central, and South America, Amaxium, misnomered as North, Central, and South America, was returned to Moors. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew what this meant and what the ramifications of this was and is. And you can read that in Exhuming of a Nation, the biography of Prophet Noble Drew Ali by Swift, Engel, Elijah, Pleasant Bay. Prophet Noble Drew Ali basically knew his lineage and heritage from his aunt that helped raise him. So here they're talking about again in the Ali Shuffle. I talked about it last week. In 1928, he attended the Pan American Conference. They were, of course, recognizing his sovereign status as a Prince of Washington and the 5th Royal Regent. The document Noble Drew Ali received was a copy of a mandate whereby the Maxim, which would be Morocco Empire, extended a land grant of the entire Western Hemisphere to certain European nations. Essentially, it leased America to a certain party for a particular number of years, not unlike the way China leased Hong Kong to Great Britain. The lease was up in 2004, according to Abdullah L. Tibla Moses Bey. The United States of America Corporation, is what we're talking about today. The United States of America Corporation is the administrative authority of our Moorish territories, which are in the category of trust territories under mandate of the United Nations. The United Nations will terminate the United States of America's mandate over our Moorish territory and the Great Seal Federal Republic government once we regain a full measure of self-government, sovereign capacity. The United Nations International Decade of World's Indigenous Peoples of 1995 through 2004 is the window period that the United Nations has set to terminate all mandates of territories currently administered as trust territories, thereby eliminating colonialism and enslavement of the world's indigenous peoples by international and national law. The United States of America Corporation is obliged to honor and respect the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, which we all are aware of. Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States of America makes the Treaty of Peace and Friendship the supreme law of the land that govern all matters of interchange, commerce, and law between the Moors and the European Christians. There you go. All you have to do is read Universal Declaration of Human Rights, December 10th, 1948, initiated on July 28, 1994. Also, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, passed September the 7th and adopted September the 13th of 2007. Also, the Inter-American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, 1995. Chapter 11, Declaration regarding non-self-governing territories. Chapter 12, International Trustee System. I got all those chapters. And Chapter 13, the Trustship Council, and etc. All this is the good information. We need to know, we need to study it. I just told you that we can get it through the return of the ancient ones. And we're going to take it back. And I'm looking to see if we have any questions. We don't, callers, as everybody's listening. Okay. Now, in order for us to move forward with all of this information, we need somebody on the inside of the United States to submit our request. Because I'm sure that, let me say it another way. It's been stated that we need to show that we know how to govern ourselves. Right now, in order to do that, be recognition. And somebody's got to submit it. I wonder how many people recognize that Obama was in Kenya this past week. I think he might be still over there in Africa. And for the first time, he declared his nationality. First time. Yes. He declared himself a Kenyan American. Hello? A Kenyan American. meaning he was born in America and a descendant of Kenya. Well, he has knowledge of that with his father and all of that. We have been here longer than he has. And when I say he and the president, I meant the lifeline of the president. Apparently, he was the first born in America from that Kenyan. I'll have to assume that. From a European mother. Okay? But by him declaring himself a Kenyan American, we should wake up to that fact that if the president is a Kenyan American, we are surely not Negro Americans or African Americans, because remember, Africa is a continent, not a country. Kenya is a country on the continent of Africa. You can't be a continent. You can't come from a continent. That's like European American. What is that? You can't be a European American. There's no such thing. And none of them in Europe will ever declare themselves European American. German American, English American, Scandinavian American, all of things will come out of the European continent, but never will anyone without color, talking about the European, call himself a European American. That's the damnest thing in the world. We are the only ones hung up in that. But we were taught that. That's why I ask the questions over and over. Do you believe in the Tarzan syndrome? Every one of you say no. Do you believe that you could be raised by monkeys or gorillas and all that crap? You say no. I told you the story about the eagle that was the eagle egg that was in with the chicken eggs, and the chicken hens hatched the eagle egg, and the eagle grew up thinking he was a chicken. Yes. Until a couple of brothers flew up there on a tree, a couple of eagles looked down there and saw him and said, "Hey, you, what the hell are you doing down there with them damn chickens?" He said, "I am a chicken." No, you're an eagle. He said, "Oh no, get out of here. I'm a chicken." So he came back a couple of weeks later and went down and picked him up and took him up in a tree and set him on a limb, told him to fly. He was scared. He didn't do nothing, sit there and cried like a chicken. Well, they took him back down and left. Came back a month later and snatched his butt, took him all the way up 10,000 feet and dropped it. He said, "Now, if you want to live, just start flapping your wings." That sucker went to flap his wing and went to soaring, just like he's supposed to be, an eagle. That's us. We was hatched as peckerwoods. We think we Europeans. We grew up being Europeans. And they had enough nerve to label us Negro and let us be Europeans. So they said, "You're a Negro." Give you a label. You didn't know anything. I'm a Negro. Ain't no such thing as a damn Negro. If we don't get that concept out of our minds, we will never be free. And our ancestors' religion was not Christianity. That was put on us in order to pacify us. They conquered the entire so-called Native American nations through Christianity. Yes, they did. Christianity makes you peaceful. That's what makes you a civilized, according to their documents. That's what makes you a civilized individual. To the 5 civilized tribes that was taken from our 5 titles of nobility. El, Bey, Dey, Ali, and Al, A-L. And I was told, which oral history, through our oral history, that a day set up that bull crap. That's why when you read the five civilized tribes, they talk about a individual named Commissioner Dawes, Dawes. And then they say that's another pronunciation of days, Dawes. Days is spelled Deys. Dawes, 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 Dahls. All of them have the sound of days. So, the 1933 Legislative Journal of the House of Representatives, on page 5,759, it's called Resolution Number 75. Why is this important? Because the Moors in Philadelphia area submitted a petition to the court of Philadelphia. Let me read a little bit to you. In the House of Representatives in April 17, 1933, sons and daughters of that proud and handsome race which inspired the architect of Northern Africa and carried into Spain the influence of its artistic temperaments, have become citizens of this nation. In the city of Philadelphia, there exists a Moorish American society made up of Moors, who have found here the end of their quest for a home, and of the children of those who journeyed here from the plains of Morocco. The society has done such to bring about a thorough absorption by these people of those principles which are necessary to make them good American citizens. Notice how they choose the words. These Moorish Americans have since being here thereof to be resolved that this house is the American Society of Philadelphia for the achieved service it has rendered the nation in bringing about a speedy and thorough Americanization of these farmer Moors, and that in accordance with the fullness right of religious independence guaranteed every citizen who recognizes also the right of these people to use the name of fiction El Ali Bey or any other prefix or suffix to which they have heretofore been accustomed to use, or which they may hereafter acquire the right to use. On that question, will the House adopt this resolution? It was adopted May 4th, 1933. This didn't feel comfortable in me reading this. I didn't feel comfortable reading this. I get a feeling they have sold themselves into the federal government of America or United States. We're talking about 1933, and the society that you're talking about is United States. So as a result, it looks like they have agreed to the five tribes. And I wonder, really, but it's on the record. I read it to you. You can accept it or reject it. But it's on the record. It's called Resolution Number 75, 1933. Three weeks ago, uh, President Obama signed a executive order adopting a long lost tribe, Native Americans, known as Pamunkey tribe. They're in the Virginia area, and accepted them into the federal institution of the five civilized tribes. Now you got to understand, a tribe can be anywhere from 1 to 1,000. And when you look up five civilized tribes, there are, each tribe, they have a title, such as Choctaw. They'll tell you what area the Choctaw lived in. Tennessee, Georgia area. And then, under the Choctaw, there are numerous of other tribes that make up, and let's call it, rather than five civilized tribes, it should be known as the five civilized confederations. This is why I was telling you that the so-called Confederate flag was given to the frontiersmen all the way back in 1770 and turn of the century, 1800. One of the tribes from the Algonquin Confederation. So if you look up the flags of Algonquin or the flags of the Iroquois, they have at least 20 different flags, and you'll get into the color pattern. One of them is identical to the Confederate flag that they had so much trouble with. And notice that they had to go through state Congress in order to remove the flag. See, we are missing some civic government lessons that we don't know about, that pertains directly to us. We don't know about. I was given a movie called, that everyone should try and see this movie. It's on cable. It's called Jack Reacher. 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 You need to look at that. And once you look at it, then you need to reflect on the 9 individuals that were killed in church down in, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, which caused the fear of the flag being removed. I started looking at it, and since I had the gist of what it was about, I couldn't stop looking. It's been told. Well, let me tell you, how many of you remember Phil Mitchell? That's a prominent name in politics. She was married to John Mitchell, who was a secretary in the Nixon administration and was involved in the Watergate scandal. They were on the out. They married. It was an estranged marriage. And he wanted to testify, and she was subpoenaed to the Washington hearings to testify against John Mitchell. How many of y'all remember that? Well, if you do remember, she never testified because her airplane fell out of the sky outside of a Chicago airport on its way to Washington, D.C. And close to 200 people died in that airplane crash. It took a while for the name of the victims to be brought out. But once it came out that she was on the plane, the so-called conspiracy buffs, call them what you want, said that in order to save Nixon's presidency through John Mitchell and Martha Mitchell, she had to be destroyed. Well, there are rumors going right now that the same coincidence went on in that church down there. If you check the victims and look at the victims, you'll find that one of them was very, 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 very powerful. And he had activity. Now, let's go back to the Ouachita and the Umassey and the Moors. There are a lot of land in the Carolinas that belongs to the Moors. A lot of land in the Carolinas that belongs to the Moors. And the rumor had that the so-called senator and preacher of the church is going to submit a bill, or the bill, it was already put in place. He sponsored a bill to give the land back. Same way they gave up the flag, it had to go to Congress in order to give the land back. We are in a very troubling time right now, very troubling, because they would stop at nothing to maintain and or preserve their positions in this society. 90% of them, and I'm not talking about white folks now, I'm talking about banksters, rich individuals, will do anything to maintain their position. And we know it's very strange that the killing in the theater in Fayetteville, not Fayetteville, Lafayette, was it Tennessee? Lafayette, Tennessee. Yep. It's very strange that they showed such a videotape on the shooting, the killing, who he was, where he went, how the ambulance showed up taking the people out of the theaters, how they had photos and information of the shooter running out with the people and realizing he was going to get caught and ran back in and fired 3 or 4 more shots. All of the information which glued the TV set over the death and the shooting, mass shooting of this idiot. Why didn't we see any of that in the shooting of the black church? They had the nerve to show the European crook, the boy, going into the church. Why didn't they show him coming out? Why didn't they show, was anyone taken to the hospital? Was the police called? Was the fire department called? Where was all that information? Why was that not in the reports that they put on TV? Think about it. They told you what they exactly wanted you to know, and that was that this 20-year-old idiot, hate crime individual, came to church, sit in the back, asked to see the preacher. Preacher comes back there. He sits with the preacher for an hour and then shoots the preacher and then comes killing everybody else. That don't make sense. If the preacher was not even there when he went in, and he told them to call the preacher to come to the church. What if? I don't know this. I'm speculating. And since they don't give the information, the thing we can do is speculate. What went on was very, very, very strange. He had to be a high school dropout with all the deformities that he had or supposedly had, he had a lot of information and a lot of things he did that he had to have help, or it wasn't him that did all of it. Such as, he picked that church to go in and kill those people. Why did he do that? Why does that church have a history of them marked vesting and freeing black folks freed or trying to be free? Part of the Underground Railroad, the history of the church itself. Why would he pick that church? I'm sure every Wednesday across America, Christians, these Negroes, have what they call that Wednesday prayer meeting. And big as Charleston is, I'm sure the churches that prayer meetings other than that church. Notice that they gave Pinckney, the senator, of being such a powerful senator. Or they went out of their way to make it clear. He was a wonderful guy. White folks showed up at the funeral. And I know they're all happy that he's gone because the bill has not been put in place. That's what the movie Jack Reacher is about. Investigate the victims rather than the shooters or these mass killers. We've had several mass shootings here, more this year than a long time. Even what went on up in Aurora, Colorado. I don't know why that boy did what he did. He picked that church. Why did he pick the time and the movie? All that was calculated. So they put out, or so it's out. Who were the people that were murdered? Who was his father? It's been stated that the father of the Aurora shooting and the father of this Sandy Brook shooting both had finances in their families, finances. And I don't mean finance like working in a bank. I'm talking about finances on the world level, way up high. Things they did not want to do, or I read where one of them was subpoenaed by the World Court to testify against some crooks that had been stealing money way up high, up in the World Bank, up in the IMF, way up there, manipulating them numbers, different shit. They were both related. They worked for this particular company, some type of auditing company. They were both subpoenaed to testify against certain people. Because this had been, according to you, because this had been a warning of what to say and how to say it. We got to start looking at this. I'm not going off on the deep end with it. I'm just telling you some facts. And since they give us the news the way they want to give it to us, we have a right to speculate. I have a right to be, quote unquote, a conspiracy buff. And a conspiracy is only a statement or an act you know about. Then when it comes true, now all of a sudden it's a fact. Well, I told you 100 years ago. I told you in 1995, 94, 93 that the Europeans were going to take over Detroit. And I told you the timetable, 20 years. Right here in Detroit, I told you. Told you how they want to do it. Y'all call me a conspiracy buff. And look at what you got today. I ran for mayor just to show you did not have to vote for the bums, that old lesser of two evils that they used to give us all the time. They fixed it so that when it's time to vote for the in the general election, you only have two assholes to vote for. And then you get patriotic. Well, I got to vote. No, you don't. I ran for the sole purpose of you telling you don't have to vote that trash. And I'm talking about Kilpatrick and Helm. I'm a conspiracy buff. Y'all better wake up and try to be a conspiracy buff so you can get ahead of the curve so you don't get caught up. You're going to sit up there and talk to a European with a hood on. Didn't notice he had a gun. And if you're close enough to talk to him, you're close enough to beat his ass. Something ain't right. Even, I'm not going to go into detail, but you need to look up what has been said about the Trayvon Martin killing. Where did his body parts go? I'll just leave it right there. When they finally found him, his body was all sewed up and it was newspaper inside. His organs were gone. Father supposedly lived in a gated community. Zimmerman did not have credentials to go in the gated community. So how are you going to shoot him in the neighborhood of where he lived? I'm just throwing some thoughts out there, just trying to get you to wake up and start thinking. Because we're in the age of Aquarius. And like I said to you before, we're in the area of the age of I know. K-N-O-W. There are no more secrets. Soon there'll be no thing as a conspiracy. You're going to see it the way it really is when it happens. You don't have to speculate. Anyway, it's been a good run today. And let me end up by going back to, let me see if I got it on. Yeah, I do. Going back to the Freedom Seminar. I'm looking for everybody to turn out. We can see about 200 people. And all you need to do is show up and bring your ticket. You're going to print the ticket out from the computer, on the computer. You're going to print it out, bring it with you to get in. There will be no tickets sold at the door. None. Your fare starts at 7 p.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., Sunday at 9 a.m. VIP ticket covers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Standard ticket covers Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday covers the seminar, the teaching classes itself. The information highway. You can purchase your ticket online. Friday will be meet and greet Jonah Bay with Jonah Bay. Meet and greet with Jonah Bay. You'll be given 2 written questions. You can have 2 written questions to ask Jonah on Friday. It will last from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday morning we start at 9. I ask you to be there at 9. We'll have coffee and donuts for you to get started. We'll start at 9 a.m. And I'm telling you now, we're covering so much information, we're going to need all the time we can get. So we're going to speed it up. If you want to bring your tape recorder or your telephone, we can't stop you. With the telephone, we ain't going to check the phones or walk through there with a baseball bat and start cracking people. We're not going that route. But you can have your tape. We're going to not only film it for DVD, but we're also going to have pay-per-view. So if you got people far away as Mexico, South America, wherever, especially all through the Bahamas and San Domingo, all that down in there, you can get it on the internet through pay-per-view. We got a professional company coming in to do it. So we're looking forward to seeing you. And it's going to be a big layout, I'm telling you. So go to my website, ronmarch.com. across the top, we want you to look for a bulletin and events. I'm on it right now. I'm going up to bulletin board / events. Bulletin board / events. And you will go to the flyer. You can tap the flyer and tell you right on the front. Click the flyer for enlargement. When you decide to purchase, there's a button at the bottom that you can tap. It will take you to the ticket sales department area. For more information, area code 313-656-7283. Also, if you got 2 or 3, if you're coming from out of state or out of town, and you want to spend the night Saturday night, we have a setup where you can get a decent room at the Hilton, Guardian Hilton, on Saturday night. If you don't want to go back and come back, it's kind of late. We got people coming out of Ohio that's already made their reservations. You can give me a buzz and I can set you up, tell you where to go, who to see, sign up. So we got everything. We think we have everything covered. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Okay? Until next tomorrow. Tomorrow is Beverly D. We're going to